ranking new movies released in March from worst to best. And before I start, if you enjoyed this video at all, follow me on Letterboxd at Chaz Clips because I put my heart and soul into every review on there and I think you'd enjoy it. Easily the worst movie I watched in March was Netflix's War Machine starring Alan Ritchson. And this entire movie's plan was apparently to take the premise of The Predator, War of the Worlds, turn it into a terrible movie and pray nobody notices. Because the first 40 minutes of this movie is Alan Ritchson training to be a ranger, which is supposed to be the tip of the top army squad until the robot shows up. And then all that shit is flowing out the window. Because I lost count for how many times these supposedly elite army soldiers just stood around blankly staring in shock while an alien spaceship is literally target locking onto them with rockets and grenades. Like, why did they just stand around and have a staring contest with that grenade? Like, holy frauds. So if you want just mindless action and Alan Ritchson doing generic army stuff, you could like this movie, but only if you completely shut off your brain like you're Reese from Malcolm in the Middle.
Turn off your brain. It's not that easy.
Sure it is. I do it all the time.
Watch. You can't just turn off your... Reese.
Stop me, bitch!
Reese! Whoa. How long was I out?
Because if you just use 1% of your brain power, you will quickly notice this movie is Netflix slop. So low 1.5 out of 5. Next, we got You're Dating a Narcissist. This follows the Marissa Tomei, who's a psychologist and obsessed with the idea that her daughter is marrying a narcissist after they got engaged within 6 weeks. So she does everything in her power to make sure that doesn't happen, even slightly becoming one herself in the process. Now, even though this is kind of the most straight to Tubi movie of all time, filled with so many airball jokes, and for a movie being called You're Dating a Narcissist, I never expected the word narc to get as overused as it did in this movie. I do think if you're a middle-aged white woman with a few kids, this could be your jam. So if you fit that description, you should check this out. Otherwise, there wasn't even a poster on IMDb for this movie, so that should give you an idea of what to expect. Next, we got Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride, which is pretty much just the 2026 version of Him, where this shit just wants to cover every theme imaginable. And even though Jessie Buckley's performance will be praised here, I still think she was doing way too much to the point that half her dialogue just sounded like straight gibberish. So even though I am a negative Nelly, the set design, costumes, and most of the acting was solid, but that's about it. Next, Undertone was advertised as the scariest movie you'll ever hear, but then it turned out to be a very big hit or miss for most people. For me, I found it very underwhelming, especially after I had the inconvenience of watching this entire movie with a broken theater screen, and then ended up watching it twice, and even found it more scary when I couldn't even see what was actually happening. So even though I had a terrible experience, I think if you got to watch it in Adobe Cinema instead of like a shitty college theater like I did, of course it's going to be a totally different story. Next, we got Mike and Nick and Alice, and yes, this stupid title is dumb, but it follows Vince Vaughn's character Nick, who time travels from the future to protect Mike, who's James Maston, who is framed for ratting on Jimmy Tatro's character, and tries to protect him through the night while targeted by a cannibal assassin, all while having a love triangle affair with Alice. Now, even though this movie overcusses to a James Gunn Peacemaker amount, and there is so many airball jokes, Jimmy Tatro's performance alone here makes this shit somehow worth checking out. Literally every second this motherfucker was on my screen, he was contagiously funny. So I really hope he gets more roles, cause the rest of this movie fell flat for me, especially with the main trio's chemistry. So 2.5 out of 5. Now, for me to say there were actually 2 movies this month following 2 sisters getting chased by a satanic cult and having to kill them to survive, releasing only a week apart in March, is mind-blowing to me. So which one is better, Ready or Not 2 or They Will Kill You? Now, I think Ready or Not 2 is a little weaker due to the less memorable kills, and you could tell from it being a sequel they wanted to go bigger and bloodier, but their version of that was spamming their slightly iconic explosion kills to the point it just got a little redundant. Besides the climax though, they did kind of stick the landing there. Also, there were a lot of bigger names in the cast this time, like Elijah Wood, but I feel like they were super underutilized. Plus, there was a lot of MCU crowd-pleasing movie moments where the main duo had infinite plot armor and it annoyed the shit out of me. But on the other hand, even though I found They Will Kill You a bit obnoxious, constantly trying way too hard to replicate that Quentin Tarantino Kill Bill vibe,
Here.
It goes so extra with its style that it's honestly super hard not to respect. And even though there's not much story at this movie's core and the climax is way weaker than Ready or Not 2, especially with that stupid pig head, that uniqueness alone with its style tops it by a hair. Next, we got the pinkest aesthetic movie I've ever watched called Toe. And I know I just said Quentin Tarantino's name, but it's not that type of toe. Instead, this is a true story following Rose Byrne's character Amanda, who is technically homeless, so when her car gets stolen and then taken by a towing company that charges outrageous fees for something that wasn't even her fault, she's forced to go to extreme lengths to get it back. And even though it's slightly a tier below, if you enjoyed The Pursuit of Happiness or Aaron Brockovich, this 3 out of 5 movie is worth checking out. Now, easily the second best movie I watched in March was Pixar's new movie Hoppers. The only big negative here is that goofy lizard only being in the movie for less than a 2-minute runtime, to the point he kind of felt like an industry plant, due to how he was in every single advertisement for the movie. But besides that, it was evened out with so many unpredictability moments and jokes delivered in such a refreshing way that I almost giggled the entire time. I think Hoppers nailed the running gag of a random person in the back of a crowd subtly getting a random line like they're a main character. So here are all of those times ranked from least best to best because they're all peak.
We don't have this argument all the time.
People love highways. They love getting places fast. Today's my day. It's not your day. Hey, but my mother lives here. I need you to...
Hey, babe. I might be home late.
This was just the first one in the movie, and they somehow get better from here.
Doc! I need your help!
I don't go by Doc.
Right. Dr. Sam, I know Jerry has permission to destroy the glade, but something doesn't add up.
Mabel, I'm in the middle of class.
Sup, Mabel?
This is the second one from the movie, and again, they just get progressively better as the movie goes on.
I'll be back.
I don't think that's the mayor.
Now, my mind was blown that they actually did more than 3 of these bits, but the last one on the list is the best, so hit that follow button if you've gotten this far in the video.
George, the council!
Oh, right. Someone call the council, please.
Okay.
And easily in the #1 spot, there's no question about it, Project Hail Mary reminded me why I love watching movies. It gave me one of the best theater experiences I have had in my entire life during the scene where Grace is taking in the moment. I genuinely cried due to the beauty my eyes were experiencing alone in this scene, so I am baffled that people actually have been finding ways to hate on this movie. That's an easy 5 out of 5. So let me know in the comments your favorite movie of this month, and if I went a little too hard on some of the earlier movies. End of discussion.